There are creatures living among us right now that can see with sound, fly with their hands, and navigate through absolute darkness with a precision that defies human comprehension. At this very moment, while you're listening to these words, millions of bats are waking in caves and attics and hollow trees around the world, preparing for a night of flight that will take them through the air at speeds up to 100 miles per hour, catching thousands of insects mid-flight using a biological sonar system so sophisticated that modern technology still can't fully replicate it. These animals have been perfecting their aerial mastery for over 50 million years, evolving abilities so strange and remarkable that they seem almost impossible. And yet most people have never truly looked at a bat, never understood what makes them one of the most successful, most mysterious, and most misunderstood mammals on Earth. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. This is a space dedicated to exploring the world's most fascinating facts in a calm, meditative way. A place where curiosity meets quietness, where profound truths become companions for drifting off. If you're new to these journeys, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe and turn on notifications. These explorations continue because of listeners like you, and your presence here makes all the difference. Tonight, let's explore together the secret lives of creatures that belong neither entirely to darkness nor to light. Animals that blur the boundary between mammal and something altogether more mysterious. Let's talk about bats, not as objects of fear or symbols of Halloween, but as they truly are. Masters of the night sky, essential guardians of ecosystems, and bearers of biological innovations that reveal nature's endless creativity. Bats are the only mammals capable of true, sustained flight. Not gliding like flying squirrels, not falling with style like sugar gliders, but actual powered flight, with wings that beat and muscles that propel them through three-dimensional space with extraordinary control. This distinction is crucial. Of the roughly 6,400 mammal species on Earth, only about 1,400 are bats. That means nearly 1 in 4 mammal species is a bat. They are, by number of species, the second largest order of mammals after rodents. Yet they remain largely invisible to us, conducting their lives in the hours when humans sleep, in places humans rarely look. And here's what makes their flight even more remarkable. Bat wings are not modified arms with feathers like bird wings. They are hands. Elongated fingers with thin, elastic membranes stretched between them. If you were to see a bat skeleton with its wings spread, you would recognize immediately the structure. A thumb, then 4 incredibly long fingers extending outward, each one capable of independent movement, creating a wing surface that can change shape mid-flight. This gives bats maneuverability that birds cannot match. They can turn sharply, hover in place, even fly backwards for short distances. Their wings are simultaneously their hands, their flight surfaces, and their sensory organs. Which brings us to understand something fascinating about bat diversity. When people think of bats, they often imagine small, dark creatures that look more or less identical. But bats vary enormously. The smallest bat, Kitty's hog-nosed bat from Thailand, weighs less than a penny, about 2 grams, and has a wingspan of just 6 inches. The largest, the giant golden-crowned flying fox from the Philippines, can have a wingspan exceeding 5 feet and weigh up to 3 pounds. Between these extremes exists incredible variety. There are bats with faces that look like dogs, like pigs, like leaves, like wrinkled leather. There are bats with noses shaped like horseshoes, like spears, like flowers. There are bats that eat fruit, insects, nectar, blood, fish, frogs, other bats. This diversity reflects 50 million years of evolution, of adaptation to countless ecological niches across every continent except Antarctica. And this leads to something equally remarkable about where bats live. They occupy nearly every terrestrial habitat on Earth: tropical rainforests, deserts, temperate woodlands, mountains, cities. Some species roost in caves by the millions, creating underground cities of bats. Others roost alone in curled leaves, or in the hollow stems of bamboo, or under bark, or in the abandoned nests of birds. Some species have adapted to human structures, living in attics, barns, bridges, mines. They are, in a sense, everywhere and nowhere, present in vast numbers yet rarely seen, woven into the fabric of ecosystems in ways most people never realize. Consider for a moment the sheer number of bats in the world. A single cave in Texas, Bracken Cave near San Antonio, hosts approximately 20 million Mexican free-tailed bats during summer. When they emerge at dusk, the column of bats leaving the cave can be visible on weather radar. These bats will consume roughly 200 tons of insects in a single night. 200 tons. The ecological service they provide, controlling insect populations, protecting crops, reducing the need for pesticides, has been valued at billions of dollars annually just in North America. And this is just one cave, one species, in one region. Globally, the insect consumption by bats is almost incomprehensible in scale. But there's more to this story about what bats eat. While most bat species are insectivores, some have evolved extraordinarily specialized diets. Nectar-feeding bats have long tongues, sometimes longer than their entire body, that can extend deep into flowers to lap up nectar and pollen. These bats are essential pollinators for hundreds of plant species, including agave, the plant from which tequila is made, and many species of wild banana. Without bats, these plants would struggle to reproduce. The bats, in turn, have evolved to time their migrations with flowering cycles, traveling hundreds of miles to follow the blooms. Fruit-eating bats, the flying foxes and their relatives, serve a similar crucial role as seed dispersers. They consume fruit and then fly away before defecating, dropping seeds far from the parent tree. In tropical rainforests, bats are responsible for dispersing seeds for up to 95% of the tree species that are first to colonize cleared or disturbed areas. They are, quite literally, forest regenerators, carrying the building blocks of new growth on their nightly flights. Without bats, tropical deforestation would be even more catastrophic, because the natural recovery process would be severely impaired. And alongside these fruit and nectar feeders, they're the most famous specialists of all: vampire bats. 3 species exist, all in Central and South America. They feed exclusively on blood, usually from livestock, but occasionally from birds or other animals. Vampire bat saliva contains anticoagulants that keep blood flowing and analgesics that numb the bite site so the prey often doesn't notice. A vampire bat can consume about half its body weight in blood each night, and if it fails to feed for 2 consecutive nights, it will starve. So vampire bats have evolved remarkable social behaviors. They share food through regurgitation with roost mates who failed to feed, particularly with family members, but sometimes with non-relatives. This reciprocal altruism, where one bat feeds another knowing it might need similar help in the future, represents sophisticated social cognition rarely seen in mammals. This reveals something profound about bat intelligence and social complexity. Many bat species live in large colonies, sometimes numbering in the millions, yet they recognize individuals. Mother bats can locate their own pup among thousands of others in a crowded cave by its unique call and scent. Some species form long-term bonds, roosting with the same companions year after year. Others have complex dominance hierarchies. Still others show evidence of culture, learned behaviors that differ between groups and are passed from one generation to the next. These are not simple creatures operating on pure instinct. They are cognitively sophisticated, socially complex, capable of learning and memory, and perhaps even rudimentary forms of teaching. Which brings us to the most extraordinary of all bat abilities: echolocation. This biological sonar system allows bats to see with sound, navigating and hunting in complete darkness. Here's how it works. The bat emits high-frequency sounds, usually through its mouth or nose, often at frequencies far above human hearing range, 20,000 to 200,000 hertz, compared to humans' upper limit of about 20,000 hertz. These sounds travel outward, bounce off objects, and return as echoes. The bat's brain processes these echoes with incredible speed, constructing a detailed three-dimensional acoustic image of its surroundings. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The information bats extract from echoes is extraordinarily detailed. They can detect objects as thin as a human hair. They can determine not just where something is, but what it is: the size, shape, texture, even the internal structure. A bat can distinguish between a moth and a beetle, between a dead leaf and a living insect, between a tree branch and a flying bird, all in complete darkness, all while flying at high speed. Some echolocating bats can detect prey buried under leaves or even slightly underground, hearing the acoustic signature of a beetle moving beneath the surface. The neural processing required for this is staggering. Bats emit calls and receive echoes dozens of times per second. Each echo must be analyzed almost instantly, matched to the call that produced it, integrated with echoes from previous moments to create a continuous perception of the environment, all while the bat is moving rapidly through three-dimensional space. The regions of a bat's brain dedicated to processing acoustic information are proportionally larger than in any other mammal. Echolocation isn't a simple ability. It's a complete sensory modality, as rich and detailed as vision, perhaps more so in certain ways. But there's more to this story about how bats use sound. Different species have evolved different echolocation strategies. Some emit loud, low-frequency calls that can detect objects at greater distances, up to 100 meters or more, but provide less detail. Others use quieter, higher-frequency calls that offer precise detail but only work at close range. Some bats that hunt in cluttered environments like forests use constant frequency calls, maintaining a steady pitch that allows them to detect moving prey against a background of stationary foliage through Doppler shift, the change in echo frequency caused by movement. Other bats hunting in open air use frequency-modulated calls that sweep through a range of pitches, providing more detailed information about target location and distance. And alongside these variations in echolocation calls, bats have evolved remarkable control over their hearing. The muscles in their ears contract just before they emit a call, temporarily reducing their hearing sensitivity so they don't deafen themselves with their own loud vocalizations. Then, in the milliseconds after the call, their hearing sensitivity returns to normal, allowing them to detect even very faint echoes. This happens dozens of times per second, an exquisitely precise biological timing system. Consider for a moment what it would be like to perceive the world through echolocation. You would hear space itself, hear the geometry of rooms, the texture of surfaces, the presence of objects not by seeing them, but by listening to how sound reflects off them. Your perception would update continuously as you moved, the acoustic landscape shifting and flowing around you. Certain things, invisible to eyes, would be obvious to echolocation. A moth's wings beating, creating distinctive patterns of moving echoes. A tree trunk's rough bark creating different echoes than smooth metal. The hollow interior of a fruit revealed by how sound penetrates or reflects differently than solid objects. It would be, quite literally, a different way of experiencing reality. This connects to something deeper about sensory evolution and perception. Humans tend to assume that vision is the primary way to understand the world, that sight provides the truest, most complete picture of reality. But this is anthropocentric bias. Bats demonstrate that sound can provide equally rich, equally detailed information. In some ways, echolocation is superior to vision. It works in complete darkness, can penetrate certain materials that light cannot, provides information about an object's internal structure and not just its surface. Bats don't live in a diminished sensory world. They live in a different sensory world, one as rich and complex as ours, but structured around sound rather than light. And this leads to something equally fascinating about bat communication. Beyond echolocation, bats produce social calls used to communicate with each other. Mother-pup recognition calls, courtship songs, territorial warnings, distress signals, contact calls that help group members stay together in flight. Bats have complex vocal repertoires. Some of these calls are within human hearing range. Others are ultrasonic, inaudible to us. Recent research has revealed that some bat species have regional dialects. Populations separated geographically produce slightly different versions of the same calls, much like human accents. Young bats learn their calls by listening to adults, suggesting that bat vocalizations, like human language, involve both innate capacity and learned refinement. But there's more to this story about bat senses. Despite the sophistication of echolocation, many bats also have excellent vision. The old saying, "blind as a bat," is entirely false. Bats can see, and some species have quite good eyesight, particularly those that feed on fruit or nectar and need to locate colorful flowers or ripe fruit in dim light. These bats often have large eyes relative to their head size. Even echolocating bats use vision to navigate over long distances, to find general areas where prey might be abundant, to avoid large obstacles. Echolocation provides fine-scale detail. Vision provides the broad context. Many bats use both senses in complementary ways, integrating visual and acoustic information to build complete pictures of their environment. And alongside vision and echolocation, bats have an acute sense of smell. Many species use olfaction to find food. Fruit bats can detect ripe fruit from considerable distances. Nectar bats home in on the scent of particular flowers. Vampire bats use smell to locate prey animals and to identify roost mates. Some bats even use echolocation and smell together. They might detect a flower first by its scent, then use echolocation to precisely locate it and determine if it's already been visited by other bats. Which brings us to understand something remarkable about bat flight and energetics. Flying is metabolically expensive. It requires enormous amounts of energy. Bats have extraordinarily high metabolic rates, particularly during flight. Their hearts can beat over 1,000 times per minute. They must consume large amounts of food relative to their body size. Many insectivorous bats eat up to half their body weight in insects each night. To support this, bats have evolved extremely efficient digestive systems. A bat can consume a meal, digest it, and excrete waste within 20 to 30 minutes. This rapid processing allows them to eat almost continuously during their active periods, converting food to energy with remarkable efficiency. But here's what makes this even more interesting. When bats are not active, they can dramatically lower their metabolic rate. Many species enter torpor during the day, a state similar to hibernation but shorter term, where body temperature drops, heart rate slows, and energy consumption plummets. This allows bats to conserve energy during periods when they're not foraging. Some bats in temperate regions hibernate through winter, entering extended torpor that lasts months, surviving on stored fat reserves. During hibernation, a bat's heart rate might drop to just 10 beats per minute, and its body temperature might fall nearly to freezing. This metabolic flexibility, the ability to shift from extremely high energy expenditure during flight to extremely low energy use during rest, is key to how bats thrive despite their small size and high metabolic demands. And this connects to something deeper about how bats reproduce and raise young. Most bat species give birth to only one pup per year, occasionally twins. This low reproductive rate is unusual for small mammals, which typically have large litters. But bat pups are born relatively large, sometimes 1/3 the mother's weight, and require extensive parental care. In many species, mothers leave their pups in the roost while they forage, returning periodically to nurse. The pups must cling to the roost surface, maintaining position among hundreds or thousands of other pups, waiting for their mother's return. When the mother comes back, she calls, and her pup responds. And somehow, among all the noise and chaos of a crowded roost, they find each other. Consider for a moment the challenges a young bat faces. It must learn to fly, which involves launching itself from a roost, often high off the ground, with only instinct and brief practice sessions to guide it. Early flights are clumsy, crashes common. But within weeks, most young bats achieve competent flight. Then they must learn to echolocate effectively, to interpret echoes, to distinguish prey from background clutter. They must learn what to eat, where to find it, how to catch it. In migratory species, they must learn routes spanning hundreds or thousands of miles. All of this knowledge is acquired in just a few months, before the young bat faces winter or its first long-distance migration. This reveals something profound about instinct and learning in bat behavior. Much is innate: the ability to fly, to echolocate, to recognize conspecifics. But much must be learned: the nuances of hunting specific prey, the locations of good foraging sites, migration routes. Young bats learn by watching adults, by trial and error, by gradual refinement of innate abilities. This balance between instinct and learning allows bats to be both immediately capable — a young bat can feed itself within weeks of birth — and continuously adaptable, able to respond to changing conditions throughout their lives. And alongside individual learning, there's evidence of social learning and even culture in some bat species. In certain populations, specific foraging strategies or roost preferences are passed from one generation to the next, through observation and imitation. Different groups of the same species in different locations may behave differently, maintaining traditions that persist across generations. This suggests that bats are not just following genetic programming, but are genuinely cultural animals, capable of innovation and transmission of knowledge through social means. Which brings us to the question of bat longevity and life history. For their size, bats live extraordinarily long lives. While a mouse of similar size might live 1 to 2 years, many bat species routinely live 10 to 20 years, and some have been documented living over 40 years in the wild. This is exceptional. The reasons for bat longevity aren't fully understood, but several factors likely contribute. Flight allows bats to escape many predators that threaten other small mammals. Torpor and hibernation slow aging processes. Low reproductive rate, having fewer offspring but investing more in each, selects for longer lifespan. And there's emerging evidence that bats have evolved enhanced DNA repair mechanisms and better resistance to oxidative stress, cellular processes that contribute to aging in other mammals. This extreme longevity relative to size has made bats interesting to aging researchers. If we could understand what allows bats to live so long while maintaining high metabolic rates and resisting diseases that affect other mammals, it might provide insights applicable to human health and longevity. Bats are not just fascinating in their own right. They're natural laboratories for studying fundamental biological questions about aging, metabolism, immunity, and disease resistance. And this leads to something both remarkable and concerning. Bats are reservoirs for numerous viruses, including some that can infect humans. Rabies, Ebola, Marburg, SARS, MERS, and likely COVID-19 all have origins in bats. This isn't because bats are somehow dirty or diseased, but because their immune systems work differently. Bats can carry viruses without becoming sick themselves, maintaining persistent infections that would be lethal to other mammals. This ability likely evolved as a consequence of flight. The metabolic stress and heat generated by flight creates cellular damage similar to inflammation, so bats evolved strong anti-inflammatory responses. These same responses allow them to tolerate viral infections that would trigger deadly inflammation in other species. Understanding this has profound implications. Bats aren't sources of disease in any malicious sense. They're simply living their lives, carrying viruses that don't harm them. Spillover to humans typically occurs when humans encroach on bat habitat, when bats and humans come into closer contact than historically typical, when ecosystems are disrupted and the natural buffers between wildlife and human populations break down. The solution isn't to eliminate bats, which would be ecologically catastrophic, but to reduce contact, to protect wild spaces, to monitor for emerging diseases, to respect the boundaries between wildlife and human domains. And alongside the disease question, there's the larger issue of bat conservation. Many bat populations are declining dramatically. Habitat loss, pesticide use, wind turbines, climate change, and, in North America, a devastating fungal disease called white nose syndrome have killed millions of bats. Some species have declined by over 90% in just a decade or two. This loss has consequences that extend far beyond bats themselves. When insectivorous bat populations decline, insect pest populations increase, crop damage increases, pesticide use increases. When fruit bats disappear, seed dispersal declines, forest regeneration slows, plant diversity decreases. Bats are keystone species. Their loss triggers cascading effects throughout entire ecosystems. But there's more to this story about bat conservation challenges. Many people still fear bats, seeing them as dangerous, dirty, or evil. These attitudes, rooted in superstition and misunderstanding, make conservation difficult. Bats face a perception problem that most other endangered animals don't. A panda or elephant inspires immediate sympathy. A bat inspires fear or disgust. Yet bats are gentle, shy creatures that go to great lengths to avoid humans. Of the 1,400 bat species, only 3 consume blood, and even those rarely bite humans. The vast majority of bats want nothing to do with people and will flee rather than confront a human. But changing public perception is slow work, requiring education, exposure, time. Which brings us to understand something remarkable about how bats navigate over long distances. Many bat species migrate, traveling hundreds or even thousands of miles between summer and winter ranges. They navigate using multiple cues: stars, Earth's magnetic field, landmarks memorized from previous migrations, possibly even smell and echolocation at large scales. Some species follow coastlines or mountain ranges, using these features as navigational guides. Others fly across open ocean, making journeys that seem impossible for such small animals. How they accomplish this remains partially mysterious. Research continues into the navigational abilities of migratory bats. And this connects to something deeper about bat migration as a biological phenomenon. When millions of bats migrate, they're not just moving themselves. They're transporting nutrients, energy, even microorganisms across vast distances. Nitrogen and phosphorus from guano deposited in caves where bats roost fertilizes ecosystems far from where the bats fed. Seeds consumed in one region are dispersed in another, potentially allowing plant species to expand their ranges. Migrations connect ecosystems, linking distant places through the bodies of moving animals. Consider for a moment the perspective of a migrating bat. You weigh perhaps 10 to 20 grams, no heavier than a handful of coins. Yet you must fly 1,000 miles, crossing mountains and deserts, facing storms and predators, navigating by senses humans barely understand, all to reach specific caves or forests where your species has wintered for millennia. You might fly at night, resting during the day in temporary roosts, slowly working your way along ancient routes. Or you might fly continuously for days, sustained by fat reserves built up before departure, landing finally in a place you've never seen before, but somehow know to find. This reveals something profound about instinct and inherited knowledge. A young bat, on its first migration, somehow knows where to go, when to leave, which direction to fly. This knowledge isn't taught, it's encoded genetically, an inherited map written in DNA and expressed through neural circuitry that develops before birth. Yet instinct provides only general guidance. Individual bats must still learn specific routes, recognize landmarks, refine their navigation through experience. The interplay of instinct and learning, of inherited and acquired knowledge, allows bats to be both reliably migratory, arriving at the right places at the right times, and flexibly adaptive, able to adjust to changing conditions. And here's what almost no one talks about: the acoustic environment of a bat roost. In caves hosting millions of bats, the sound is overwhelming. Constant chattering, calling, echolocation clicks blending into a roar. To human ears, it would be cacophony. But to bats, each individual call is distinct, meaningful, part of an intricate acoustic tapestry. They can pick out their own pup's call, their own social group's vocalizations, the echolocation returns of their own calls, all amidst this incredible noise. The processing power required is immense, the acoustic discrimination ability far beyond anything humans can achieve. And alongside this acoustic complexity, there's the physical environment of bat roosts. Many bats roost in caves, selecting sites with specific temperature and humidity conditions. These caves, particularly in winter hibernation sites, provide stable environments that protect bats from harsh surface weather. The bats cluster together, sometimes packing so densely that dozens cover each square foot of cave surface, their combined body heat warming the roost. In summer maternity colonies, mothers with pups require warmer temperatures than solitary bats, and they select different areas within caves or different roost structures entirely. But here's what makes roosts even more interesting. They are ecosystems unto themselves. Bat guano accumulates below roosts, sometimes forming deep deposits. This guano supports unique communities of specialized organisms, fungi, bacteria, insects, even rare cave fish and amphibians that feed on guano or on invertebrates that live in it. In some caves, entire ecosystems depend on nutrients brought in by bats. Without bats, these ecosystems would collapse. Bats are not just inhabitants of caves, they're ecosystem engineers, creating and maintaining habitats for countless other species. This connects to something deeper about mutualism and interdependence in nature. Bats depend on caves for shelter. Cave ecosystems depend on bats for nutrients. Plants depend on bats for pollination and seed dispersal. Bats depend on plants for food. Insects depend on plants. Bats depend on insects. Everything connects, each species playing roles that support others, creating webs of mutual dependence that stabilize ecosystems and allow diversity to flourish. Bats sit at the center of many such webs, their presence enabling the existence of countless other species. And as you settle in and let these thoughts drift through your mind, as your breathing slows and your body relaxes, consider how much happens in the darkness while humans sleep. Millions of bats taking flight, dispersing across landscapes, consuming tons of insects, pollinating thousands of flowers, dispersing countless seeds. An entire parallel world of activity, invisible to most people, yet essential to the functioning of ecosystems, to the health of forests, to the productivity of agriculture. Bats work in the shadows, performing services that go unnoticed and unappreciated, yet without which the world would be profoundly different. The mechanics of bat flight reveal something extraordinary about evolutionary innovation. When you watch a bird fly, you're seeing wings that beat up and down in a relatively simple pattern. But bat wings move in 3 dimensions simultaneously, flexing, rotating, changing shape with each stroke. The bones that would be your fingers if you were a bat can move independently, allowing the wing membrane to ripple and adjust continuously. During a single wing beat, which lasts perhaps 1/10 of a second, a bat makes dozens of micro-adjustments to wing shape and angle, responding to air currents, targeting prey, avoiding obstacles. This kind of precise, real-time control requires extraordinary neuromuscular coordination. The bat's brain must integrate sensory information from echolocation, vision, and the wings themselves, which are covered in tiny sensory hairs that detect air pressure changes, and translate this into split-second motor commands to dozens of wing muscles. And this leads to something even more remarkable about how bats maneuver. They can change direction almost instantaneously, executing turns that would be impossible for birds of similar size. High-speed video reveals that bats can rotate their bodies 180 degrees in less than half a second while maintaining forward momentum. They achieve this through asymmetric wing strokes, the wings on opposite sides of the body doing different things simultaneously, and through using their tail membrane, which stretches between their legs and can act as a brake, a rudder, or an additional lift surface. Some species can even use their tail membrane to scoop insects out of the air, catching prey not with their mouths, but with this flexible skin net, then somersaulting in midair to transfer the insect from tail to mouth. This kind of aerial agility has been refined over millions of years. The earliest bat fossils, dating to about 52 million years ago, show animals that were already fully capable of powered flight and echolocation. These ancient bats, preserved in extraordinary detail in sites like the Messel Pit in Germany, look remarkably similar to modern bats, suggesting that the basic bat body plan evolved early and has changed relatively little since. What has changed is diversification. Those early bats gave rise to the 1,400 species alive today, each specialized for particular diets, habitats, and ecological roles. Evolution didn't need to reinvent the bat repeatedly. It created the template once, then explored countless variations on that successful design. Which brings us to understand something fascinating about bat hibernation and its physiological extremes. When a bat enters hibernation in autumn, it doesn't simply go to sleep. It undergoes a profound metabolic transformation. Body temperature, normally around 100 degrees Fahrenheit during active periods, drops to just above freezing, sometimes as low as 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Heart rate plummets from hundreds of beats per minute to as few as 10. Breathing becomes so shallow and infrequent that a hibernating bat might appear dead, taking only one breath every few minutes, sometimes going an hour between breaths. In this state, the bat's metabolic rate drops to just 1 to 2% of normal. It burns through fat reserves incredibly slowly, allowing it to survive months without feeding. But there's more to this story about hibernation's complexity. Bats don't hibernate continuously through winter. Every week or two, they briefly arouse, warming their bodies back to normal temperature for a few hours before returning to torpor. Why they do this remains debated. It might allow them to relocate within the hibernaculum if conditions change, to drink water if humidity is low, to urinate and prevent toxic buildup, or to allow immune system function, which largely shuts down during deep torpor, to briefly resume and clear infections. These arousals are metabolically expensive, burning through substantial fat reserves, yet they appear to be essential for successful hibernation. And here's what makes hibernation even more interesting: the challenge of selecting the right hibernation site. Bats need caves or mines where temperature remains stable, ideally just above freezing, throughout winter. Too warm, and they burn through fat reserves too quickly. Too cold, and they risk freezing. The humidity must be high enough to prevent dehydration, but not so high that fungal growth becomes problematic. Bats have been using the same hibernation sites for centuries, sometimes millennia, returning generation after generation to caves that provide optimal conditions. When these sites are disturbed by human visitation, by disease, by climate change altering cave temperatures, bats have limited alternatives, which is why hibernaculum protection is crucial for bat conservation. Consider for a moment what hibernation means for a bat's life history. In temperate regions, Bats might be active for only 6 to 7 months per year. The rest of the time, they're hibernating. This means that a bat living 20 years might spend 10 of those years in torpor, alive but not truly living, suspended in a state between life and death. Time passes differently for hibernating bats. They age more slowly during hibernation, cellular processes slowing to near standstill. In a very real sense, hibernation extends lifespan not by preventing aging, but by stretching out active life, reducing the proportion of time spent in high metabolism states that cause cellular wear. This connects to something deeper about how different bat species have adapted to seasonal challenges in different ways. While temperate bats hibernate, tropical bats face different constraints. Most tropical regions don't have harsh winters requiring hibernation, but they do have wet and dry seasons that affect insect abundance or fruit availability. Some tropical bats migrate short distances to track resources. Others reduce activity during lean periods without entering full hibernation. Still others, particularly fruit bats, have relatively constant food supplies year-round and maintain activity throughout the year. These varied strategies reflect the fundamental challenge all bats face, matching their energy expenditure to their environment's capacity to provide food. And alongside these seasonal adaptations, there's the remarkable diversity of bat roosting strategies. While many species roost in caves, others have evolved to exploit completely different structures. Some bats roost under bark, squeezing into narrow spaces that protect them from predators. Disc-winged bats in Central and South America have evolved suction cups on their thumbs and feet, allowing them to roost inside the smooth, curved leaves of plants like heliconias and gingers. These leaves unfurl over time, forcing the bats to find new roosts every few days. Bamboo bats roost in hollow bamboo stems, entering through holes made by beetles. Tent-making bats bite along the veins of large leaves, causing them to fold and create protective shelters. But there's more to roosting than simply finding shelter. The choice of roost affects thermoregulation, predator exposure, and social opportunities. Bats roosting in large colonies benefit from shared body heat and perhaps from information exchange. Bats that found good foraging sites might, through their behavior, inadvertently provide cues that other bats follow. But large colonies also attract predators and create competition for access to the best roost positions. Solitary roosters avoid these problems, but give up the benefits of group living. Different species make different trade-offs, reflecting their particular ecological circumstances and evolutionary histories. And this leads to something equally fascinating about bat predators and defenses. Despite their nocturnal habits and aerial agility, bats face numerous predators. Owls hunt bats in flight, using silent wings and acute hearing to detect and pursue them in darkness. Hawks and falcons catch bats emerging from roosts at dusk. Snakes invade roosts, consuming bats that can't escape confined spaces. Mammals like raccoons, opossums, and domestic cats prey on bats when opportunity allows. Even other bats sometimes eat bats. Greater false vampire bats, despite their name, actually prey on smaller bat species. Bats have evolved various defenses against predation. Many are cryptically colored, blending into tree bark or cave walls. Some emit alarm calls when predators are detected, warning other bats. Flight itself is a defensive strategy. Once airborne, bats are difficult to catch. Echolocation allows them to detect approaching predators and take evasive action. And social roosting, particularly in large colonies, provides predator dilution. Any individual bat's risk decreases when surrounded by thousands of others. Despite these defenses, predation remains a significant source of mortality for bats, particularly for inexperienced juveniles. Which brings us to the question of bat intelligence and cognitive abilities. For many years, bats were assumed to be relatively simple creatures, their behavior driven primarily by instinct with limited capacity for learning or problem solving. Recent research has overturned this assumption. Bats can learn to associate specific sounds with food rewards, can remember the locations of productive foraging sites across years, can recognize individual roost mates by their calls, and remember these associations for extended periods. Some species show evidence of observational learning. Young bats learning foraging techniques by watching experienced adults. Others demonstrate innovation, individuals discovering new foraging strategies that then spread through social learning. And here's what makes bat cognition even more interesting: their capacity for what researchers call spatial memory. Bats must remember the locations of roosts, foraging sites, water sources, and navigate between these locations night after night, often across distances of many kilometers. Studies have shown that bats develop cognitive maps, mental representations of their environment, that allow them to take novel routes between known locations, suggesting they understand spatial relationships rather than simply memorizing specific routes. This capacity for spatial cognition likely rivals that of birds and may exceed that of many other mammals. This reveals something profound about the relationship between sensory modality and cognition. We tend to assume that vision is necessary for sophisticated spatial cognition. Yet bats demonstrate that acoustic perception can support equally complex spatial understanding. Their mental maps are built from echoes, from the sonic texture of landscapes, from the acoustic signatures of landmarks. They navigate through remembered soundscapes, recognizing places by how they sound rather than how they look. This challenges assumptions about what kinds of sensory information can support complex cognition. Consider for a moment the acoustic landscape a bat might remember. The echolocation signature of a particular grove of trees where moth hunting is productive. The sound of a specific bridge over a river under which they roost. The acoustic texture of a field's edge where they drink from a small pond. Each location has a distinctive sonic fingerprint, as recognizable to a bat as a visual scene is to us. Navigation becomes a matter of moving through remembered sounds, orienting by how echoes match or differ from expectations. It's a form of perception and cognition fundamentally different from our own, yet clearly effective. And alongside spatial memory, there's evidence for social cognition in bats. Vampire bats, as mentioned, share food with roost mates, but they do so selectively. They're more likely to share with individuals who have shared with them in the past, suggesting they remember past interactions and adjust current behavior accordingly. This requires individual recognition, memory of social interactions, and perhaps even rudimentary concepts of fairness or reciprocity. Other bat species maintain long-term social relationships, preferring to roost with familiar individuals even when other options are available. These preferences suggest emotional bonds, attachments that persist across time. But there's more to bat social life than cooperation. Competition exists too. Male bats often compete for access to females, sometimes through elaborate displays, singing complex songs, performing aerial acrobatics, defending territories. In some species, males establish harems, monopolizing groups of females and defending them from rival males. In others, males gather at traditional display sites called leks, where females visit to select mates based on the quality of their displays. These mating systems create sexual selection, females choosing males based on particular traits, which drives the evolution of exaggerated characteristics like elaborate facial structures, loud calls, or large body size in males. And this connects to something fascinating about bat communication during courtship. Many bat species produce courtship songs, complex vocalizations, often ultrasonic and inaudible to humans, that males use to attract females. These songs can be remarkably elaborate, with distinct phrases, repeated patterns, and improvised elements. In some species, young males learn song elements from older males, creating traditions that persist across generations. Female choice appears to be based partly on song complexity or novelty, creating selection pressure for males to develop increasingly sophisticated vocalizations. In this way, sexual selection drives the evolution of complex communication systems, which brings us to understand something remarkable about bat acoustics and the arms race between bats and insects. Many insects that bats prey upon have evolved the ability to hear bat echolocation calls. Moths, in particular, have evolved ultrasonic hearing specifically to detect approaching bats. When a moth hears a bat, it takes evasive action, diving, flying erratically, or dropping from the air entirely. Some moths even produce ultrasonic clicks of their own, which may jam bat echolocation or warn bats that the moth is toxic. This creates an evolutionary arms race, bats evolving strategies to overcome moth defenses, moths evolving better detection and evasion abilities. Bats have responded to moth hearing in several ways. Some species reduce call intensity when approaching prey, essentially whispering to avoid detection. Others shift to higher frequencies that moths have difficulty hearing. Still others time their attacks to minimize the prey's response time, accelerating their calling rate just before capture to update target information so rapidly that the moth has insufficient time to react. These strategies reveal that echolocation is not a fixed system, but an actively managed tool, adjusted in real time based on circumstances and prey responses. And here's what makes this even more interesting. Some bats have evolved to hunt silently. Gleaning bats, which pluck prey from surfaces rather than catching them in flight, often don't echolocate while hunting. Instead, they listen for sounds the prey makes, footsteps, rustling, chewing, and home in on these cues. This silent hunting strategy prevents prey from detecting the bat's approach. These bats have enormous ears, often larger than their heads, that function as acoustic funnels, collecting faint sounds from the environment. They are, in effect, eavesdropping specialists, hunting by listening rather than by active echolocation. This reveals something profound about sensory flexibility and specialization. Bats have evolved not just one way of using sound, but multiple strategies: active echolocation, passive listening, social communication, each suited to different contexts. They can switch between these modes depending on circumstances, using echolocation for navigation and active listening for hunting, or vice versa. This cognitive flexibility, the ability to employ different sensory strategies as situations demand, represents sophisticated information processing and behavioral control. And alongside acoustic specialization, there's morphological specialization. Bat faces are astonishingly diverse, shaped by the demands of echolocation and feeding. Noseleaf bats have elaborate structures on their noses that focus and direct echolocation calls, working like acoustic lenses. These structures vary dramatically between species. Some look like horseshoes, others like leaves or spears, each shape affecting call directionality and frequency in specific ways. Bats that feed on nectar often have elongated snouts and reduced teeth, their skulls reshaped to accommodate long tongues. Vampire bats have specialized teeth, razor-sharp incisors for making small cuts, and reduced molars since they don't chew solid food. Each species' morphology tells a story about how it makes its living, but there's more to bat morphology than heads and wings. Tail membranes vary dramatically. Some species have long tails fully enclosed in membrane. Others have short tails or no tail at all. Feet can be specialized for hanging upside down, for walking on surfaces, for catching prey, or for grooming. Fur varies from short and sleek to long and fluffy, affecting thermoregulation and perhaps camouflage. Even something as simple as claw shape varies. Curved claws for gripping rough bark, straighter claws for smoother surfaces. Every aspect of bat anatomy has been shaped by natural selection for particular functions. Consider for a moment the challenge of hanging upside down. This is the normal resting posture for most bats. They hang by their feet with their heads down. Special adaptations make this possible. Their toe tendons are arranged such that the bat's own body weight automatically closes the claws. Hanging requires no muscular effort. The circulatory system must prevent blood from pooling in the head, which it does through specialized valves in veins and arteries. The digestive system works against gravity, which is manageable because bats process food so quickly. This upside-down lifestyle provides benefits. It allows instant flight launches, simply releasing grip and falling into flight. And it positions bats in locations predators have difficulty reaching. And this connects to something deeper about bat evolution and adaptive radiation. From a single ancestral species that developed powered flight and echolocation, bats diversified into the extraordinary variety we see today. This diversification was driven by ecological opportunity. Bats could exploit niches unavailable to other mammals. The night sky, before bats, was occupied primarily by insects and some birds. Bats became the dominant nocturnal aerial insectivores, and from this base, some lineages evolved to exploit fruits, nectar, blood, fish, and other resources. Each evolutionary step opened new possibilities, new niches to fill, new forms to evolve. The result is that bats now occupy nearly every terrestrial ecosystem and exploit nearly every food source available to flying animals. This success, measured by species diversity, geographic range, and ecological importance, demonstrates the power of key innovations. Flight and echolocation were such advantageous adaptations that they enabled bats to become one of the most successful mammalian groups on Earth. These innovations, evolved once about 50 million years ago, continue shaping bat evolution today as species adapt to changing environments and new challenges. And as you rest here, your breathing slow and even, your thoughts beginning to drift. Imagine the world from a bat's perspective. Darkness, not as absence, but as opportunity. Sound, not as a sense, but as a complete perceptual world. Flight, not as defying gravity, but as natural as walking. A life lived in hours humans spend sleeping, in spaces humans rarely enter, perceiving reality through senses humans barely understand. bats inhabit the familiar world, yet experience it in utterly unfamiliar ways, reminding us that our perception is just one of countless possible ways of being alive, of being aware, of moving through and understanding the world around us. The wing membrane of a bat is one of the thinnest tissues found in any mammal. In some places, less than 1/100th of a millimeter thick. Yet this delicate membrane is remarkably strong and elastic, capable of stretching and flexing thousands of times each night without tearing. The secret lies in its structure. The membrane contains a dense network of elastin fibers running in multiple directions, giving it strength in all planes. Blood vessels and nerves thread through it, providing nutrients and sensory feedback. The surface is covered in tiny sensory hairs that detect air movement, pressure changes, turbulence. A bat's wing is not just a flight surface, it's a sensory organ, constantly feeding information to the brain about airflow, speed, and orientation. And this leads to something remarkable about how bats heal from wing injuries. The membrane, despite its thinness, repairs itself with extraordinary speed. A small tear can heal completely within a few weeks, new tissue growing to bridge the gap. Even relatively large tears heal, though they may leave scars that slightly affect flight performance. This regenerative capacity is unusual for mammals. Most mammalian tissues heal slowly, often with significant scarring. But bat wing membranes, perhaps because they're so crucial for survival and so frequently damaged, have evolved enhanced healing abilities. The mechanisms underlying this repair are of interest to medical researchers studying wound healing and tissue regeneration. Which brings us to understand something fascinating about the energy economy of bat life. Every calorie a bat consumes must be balanced against the enormous energetic costs of flight. For insectivorous bats, this means catching enough small prey to fuel several hours of intensive flying. A single bat might catch and eat hundreds or even thousands of insects in a night. The mathematics of this are striking. Catching one small insect might yield 5 calories of energy, but flying to catch it and processing it burns perhaps 3 or 4 calories. The profit margin is small, which means bats must be extremely efficient hunters, maximizing capture rate while minimizing wasted flight. This efficiency manifests in hunting strategies refined by evolution. Many bats patrol regular routes, visiting areas where insects are predictably abundant, along forest edges, over water, near streetlights in urban areas. They learn these routes through experience, remembering which locations yield good returns. Some species adjust their hunting behavior based on insect availability, flying higher or lower, faster or slower, changing call patterns to match prey density and behavior. Others have evolved to specialize on particular insect types, moths, beetles, mosquitoes, developing specialized hunting techniques optimized for specific prey. And here's what makes foraging behavior even more interesting. Bats can rapidly assess and respond to changing conditions. If a bat arrives at a usually productive foraging site and finds few insects, it will often move quickly to try other locations rather than wasting time in an unprofitable area. Conversely, if it encounters unusually high prey density, it may concentrate effort in that area. This flexibility requires continuous assessment of capture rates, memory of alternative sites, and decision-making about when to stay versus when to leave. These are not simple behaviors. They represent active foraging decisions based on environmental sampling and remembered information. Consider for a moment the calculations a bat's brain performs during hunting. It's flying through three-dimensional space at perhaps 20 miles per hour. It's emitting echolocation calls and processing returning echoes dozens of times per second. It detects a moth 10 meters away. Based on echo characteristics, it identifies it as a specific moth species, assesses its size and trajectory, calculates an intercept course, adjusts its own flight path, accelerates, times wing movements to position its tail membrane as a catching basket, and captures the moth, all in perhaps 2 seconds. Then it transfers the moth to its mouth, continues flying, processes and swallows the moth, and searches for the next target. This sequence repeats hundreds of times per night. This connects to something deeper about neural processing and real-time computation in animal brains. The computational demands of echolocation and aerial pursuit are immense, yet bats accomplish these tasks with brains weighing just a few grams. This suggests that biological neural systems can perform certain computations, particularly those involving real-time sensory processing, motor control, and decision-making, with extraordinary efficiency. Understanding how bat brains accomplish these computations might inform artificial intelligence and robotics, particularly for navigation and object recognition in complex environments. And alongside the complexity of individual behavior, there's the complexity of social interactions during foraging. In species that forage in groups, individuals may benefit from each other's presence. One bat finding a swarm of insects might inadvertently attract others, which follow and share in the bounty. This creates a potential for information transfer. Bats observing which areas their roost mates are exploiting can adjust their own foraging accordingly. Whether this sharing is intentional or simply a byproduct of proximity remains debated. But either way, it demonstrates that foraging in bats can be a social activity, with interactions between individuals affecting individual success. But there's more to bat sociality than foraging. Grooming is another important social behavior. Bats spend considerable time grooming themselves, using their claws to comb through fur, licking their wings clean, maintaining their sensory hairs. In some species, grooming extends to social partners. Bats groom each other, particularly areas that are difficult to reach alone. This mutual grooming likely serves both hygienic functions, removing parasites and keeping fur clean, and social functions, maintaining bonds between individuals. Time spent grooming together may reinforce relationships, much as grooming does in primates. And this leads to something equally fascinating about parasites and disease in bat populations. Like all animals, bats host numerous parasites: mites, ticks, fleas, flies, and internal parasites like worms and protozoans. Some of these parasites are bat specialists, found only on bats and often only on specific bat species. These host-parasite relationships have co-evolved over millions of years, parasites adapting to exploit bats, bats evolving defenses against parasites. The result is often a kind of balance. Parasites persist, but usually at levels that don't significantly harm their hosts, since killing the host would be disadvantageous for the parasite. However, when conditions change, when bats are stressed by food shortages, poor roosting conditions, or disease, parasite loads can increase to harmful levels. This creates a feedback loop where stress increases susceptibility to parasites, and parasites increase stress, potentially leading to population declines. Understanding these dynamics is important for bat conservation, as many bat populations face multiple stressors simultaneously, and the interactions between these stressors can amplify their individual effects. Which brings us to the devastating impact of white nose syndrome on North American bats. This disease, caused by a fungus called Pseudogymnoascus destructans, has killed millions of bats since it was first detected in 2006. The fungus grows on the skin of hibernating bats, particularly on the wings and face, creating the white nose appearance that gives the disease its name. The fungal infection disrupts hibernation, causing bats to wake more frequently than normal, burning through fat reserves and often starving before winter ends. Mortality rates in affected colonies can exceed 90%. White nose syndrome appears to have originated in Europe or Asia, where native bat species carry the fungus without experiencing severe disease. They've co-evolved with it and developed resistance. But North American bats, encountering the fungus for the first time, have no evolved defenses. The fungus spreads from bat to bat during hibernation and persists in caves even when bats are absent, making it extremely difficult to control. Some species, like the little brown bat, once among the most common North American bats, have declined by more than 90% across much of their range. The ecological consequences extend beyond bats themselves. With fewer bats consuming insects, insect populations in affected areas have increased. Studies have documented increases in crop pests where bat populations collapsed, leading to greater crop damage and increased pesticide use. The economic costs, both the value of pest control services lost and the increased costs to agriculture, are estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars annually. This demonstrates how the loss of a single group of species can cascade through ecosystems and even impact human economic systems. But there's more to this story about disease and bat conservation. Research is ongoing to understand white nose syndrome and develop potential treatments or management strategies. Some bats in affected populations are surviving, suggesting natural selection may be favoring resistance. If resistant individuals can rebuild populations, there's hope for long-term recovery. Meanwhile, efforts focus on minimizing human disturbance of hibernating bats, decontaminating caving equipment to prevent spreading the fungus, and experimentally treating some caves with antifungal compounds or beneficial bacteria that inhibit fungal growth. This reveals something profound about conservation biology and the challenge of protecting species in rapidly changing environments. Bats evolved over millions of years, adapting to their environments through natural selection. But the pace of environmental change today, habitat loss, climate change, novel diseases, pollution, often exceeds the pace at which natural selection can produce adaptive responses. Species that might have been abundant and successful for millennia can collapse within decades when faced with threats they've never encountered before. Conservation becomes a matter of buying time, protecting populations while hoping that some combination of adaptation, management intervention, and luck allows species to persist. And alongside disease threats, there's the challenge of habitat loss. Bats require roosting sites, caves, hollow trees, rock crevices, buildings, and many of these are disappearing. Old-growth forests with large hollow trees are logged. Caves are vandalized or disturbed by recreational cavers. Old buildings are demolished or renovated, eliminating roosting spaces. For bats, particularly species with specific roost requirements, habitat loss can be catastrophic. A colony of several thousand bats might depend on a single cave or building. If that roost is destroyed or made unsuitable, the entire colony may perish. Consider for a moment the perspective of a bat facing habitat loss. You've been using the same cave for generations, perhaps centuries. Your ancestors roosted there. You were born there. You know every crevice, every thermal current, every entrance and exit. Then one day, the cave entrance is blocked, or the temperature regime changes because of human modification, or disturbance becomes so frequent that roosting becomes impossible. Where do you go? How do you find a new roost of similar quality? Can you find one within the distance you can travel? Will it already be occupied? The answers to these questions determine whether you survive or perish. This connects to something deeper about conservation success stories and the importance of protecting roosting habitat. Artificial bat houses, wooden boxes designed to mimic natural roost cavities, have been successfully used in some areas to provide alternative roosting sites. Bridges designed or retrofitted with bat-friendly crevices can host large colonies. Abandoned mines can be gated to allow bat access while preventing human entry. Old buildings can be preserved or modified to maintain bat-friendly spaces. These interventions work, demonstrating that when humans choose to accommodate bats, coexistence is possible. And this leads to something equally fascinating about the cultural significance of bats across human societies. In Western cultures, bats are often associated with darkness, death, and evil. Think of vampire legends, Halloween imagery, phrases like batty, meaning crazy. But in other cultures, bats carry positive symbolism. In China, bats represent happiness and good fortune. The Chinese word for bat, fu, sounds like the word for happiness. In many Native American traditions, bats are associated with initiation, rebirth, and navigation through the dark, symbolic guides helping people find their way. These varied cultural meanings remind us that human attitudes toward animals are culturally constructed, not inherent to the animals themselves. Changing negative perceptions is one of the challenges facing bat conservationists. Education programs aim to introduce people to the reality of bats, gentle, beneficial animals that are crucial for healthy ecosystems. Bat watching programs have become popular in some areas, with people gathering at dusk to watch massive bat emergences from caves, witnessing the spectacle of millions of bats taking flight. These experiences can transform attitudes, turning fear into fascination, creating constituencies who support bat conservation. But there's more to human-bat relationships than symbolism. Practical interactions matter too. Bats in buildings can create conflicts. Droppings accumulate, noise disturbs residents, rabies fears arise, even though bat rabies is rare and transmission to humans unlikely with proper precautions. Resolving these conflicts requires understanding on both sides, homeowners learning to coexist when possible, using exclusion techniques that allow bats to leave but prevent re-entry rather than killing them. Timing exclusions to avoid trapping young bats when mothers are out foraging. Conservation organizations offer guidance, helping people address bat issues humanely while protecting both human interests and bat populations. Which brings us to the question of climate change and its impacts on bats. Temperature affects many aspects of bat biology: hibernation timing, insect availability, suitable roosting conditions, geographic ranges. As climates warm, bats face several challenges. Hibernation sites may become too warm, forcing bats to burn through fat reserves too quickly. Or temperature shifts may desynchronize the timing of insect emergence with bat reproduction, so that young bats are weaned at times when insect prey is less abundant. Droughts may reduce water availability, critical for bats that need to drink. Extreme weather events, hurricanes, heat waves, floods, can cause mass mortality. Geographic ranges are shifting in response to climate change. Some bat species are expanding poleward or to higher elevations, tracking suitable climate conditions. Others may find their ranges shrinking as suitable habitat contracts. These shifts can disrupt existing ecological relationships, bringing bats into contact with new competitors, predators, or prey. The long-term consequences remain uncertain, but it's clear that the stable climate conditions under which bat species evolved are changing, requiring rapid adaptation or risking local extinctions.
And here's what makes climate impacts particularly concerning for bats.
Many species are already stressed by other factors: disease, habitat loss, pesticide exposure. Climate change doesn't occur in isolation. It compounds existing stressors, creating cumulative pressures that populations may be unable to withstand. A bat population already weakened by white-nose syndrome may lack the resilience to also cope with climate-driven changes in food availability. A species losing roost sites to development may be unable to shift its range in response to warming temperatures. Conservation must address multiple threats simultaneously, recognizing that interactions between stressors often create outcomes worse than any single stressor alone. This reveals something profound about ecological complexity and the interconnectedness of conservation challenges. Protecting bats requires protecting caves, forests, water sources, and insect populations. It requires addressing disease, climate change, pesticide use, and human disturbance. It requires changing cultural attitudes, enacting protective policies, funding research, and supporting conservation organizations. No single action suffices. Effective conservation demands comprehensive, integrated approaches that recognize how everything connects. How bat survival depends on ecosystem health, which depends on addressing multiple human impacts simultaneously. And as you rest here, letting these thoughts settle like dust in still air, consider the hidden complexity of the natural world. Behind every animal, even one as small as a bat, lies millions of years of evolution, intricate adaptations, complex behaviors, ecological relationships extending in all directions. To understand even one species deeply is to glimpse the profound interconnectedness of life, the way each organism fits into larger patterns, the way survival depends on countless factors all aligning properly. Bats are not simple creatures to be casually dismissed or feared. They are marvels of biology, success stories of evolution, essential threads in the fabric of ecosystems. Their presence enriches the world. Their loss would diminish it in ways both obvious and subtle, immediate and long-lasting. The sound of a bat's echolocation call, if you could hear it, would tell you stories. Each species has its own signature. Some emit short, sharp clicks like digital pulses. Others produce longer, frequency-modulated sweeps that rise and fall in pitch. Some calls sound musical, almost like birdsong transposed into ultrasonic frequencies. Others are harsh, mechanical, alien. But to the bats themselves, these calls are not just sounds. They're tools. Probes sent into darkness that return carrying detailed information about the world. Every echo is a piece of data. Every silence between calls is a moment of listening, of interpretation, of constructing reality from reflected sound. And this leads to something remarkable about the acoustic complexity bats navigate. In a forest at night, multiple bat species often forage simultaneously, each emitting echolocation calls. The acoustic space becomes crowded, filled with overlapping calls and echoes. Yet somehow, each bat distinguishes its own echoes from all the others, maintains its own acoustic thread through the tangled soundscape. This is called the cocktail party problem, the challenge of separating relevant signals from background noise. And bats solve it with apparent ease, using subtle differences in timing, frequency, and intensity to filter their own echoes from the acoustic clutter. Research suggests bats use several strategies to minimize acoustic interference. Some species shift their call frequencies when they detect other bats calling at similar frequencies, creating acoustic niche partitioning. Others time their calls to fall between other bats' calls, reducing overlap. Some may even learn to recognize the calls of familiar roost mates and adjust their own calling patterns accordingly. These strategies reveal that echolocation is not a fixed behavior, but a flexible tool, actively managed and adjusted based on social and environmental context. Which brings us to understand something fascinating about how human technology has been inspired by bat biology. The development of sonar and radar systems during World War II was influenced by understanding of bat echolocation. More recently, researchers studying bat flight have influenced drone design, particularly for navigation in complex, cluttered environments. Algorithms modeling how bats process echoes have applications in medical imaging, allowing doctors to create clearer ultrasound images. Even autonomous vehicles use principles discovered through studying how bats avoid collisions. The biomimicry inspired by bats demonstrates that evolution, through millions of years of trial and error, has solved engineering problems that humans are only now learning to address. But there's more to the bat technology connection than biomimicry. Acoustic monitoring of bat populations has become an important conservation tool. Researchers deploy recording devices that capture bat calls, then use computer algorithms to identify species based on call characteristics. This allows non-invasive population monitoring, assessing which species are present, their relative abundance, how populations change over time. In some regions, years of acoustic monitoring data have revealed population declines before they became obvious through other means, allowing conservation interventions before species reached critical status. And here's what makes acoustic monitoring particularly valuable. It can detect rare or cryptic species that are difficult to observe by other means. A species might be present in very low numbers, rarely captured in mist nets or observed directly. Yet its distinctive calls, recorded over multiple nights, confirm its presence. This information is crucial for conservation planning. Knowing which species occur in an area informs decisions about habitat protection, development impacts, and management priorities. Technology and biology together create tools that serve conservation. This connects to something deeper about the relationship between scientific understanding and conservation action. For most of human history, bats were poorly understood, feared more than appreciated, their ecological roles unrecognized. As scientific research has illuminated bat biology, revealing their sophistication, their ecological importance, their vulnerability, public attitudes have slowly shifted. Knowledge creates appreciation. Appreciation motivates conservation. This progression demonstrates that science is not just about satisfying curiosity, but about creating the understanding necessary for humans to make informed decisions about sharing the planet with other species. Consider for a moment the transformation in how we understand bats over the past century. In the early 1900s, bats were often persecuted as pests or sources of disease, their populations deliberately reduced. By mid-century, scientists were beginning to understand echolocation and migration, revealing bats' remarkable capabilities. In recent decades, Research has documented their ecological services, their social complexity, their cognitive abilities. Each generation's research builds on the previous, creating progressively deeper understanding. And with understanding comes a sense of responsibility. Recognizing that bats depend on specific conditions, we have the power to either protect or destroy.
And alongside scientific progress, there's been legal progress. Many countries now have laws protecting bats and their habitats. International agreements address migratory species. Organizations dedicated to bat research and conservation exist globally, networking across borders to share knowledge and coordinate efforts. This infrastructure of protection, legal, institutional, educational, represents collective recognition that bats matter, that their survival is worth human effort and resources. It's an incomplete protection, insufficient to address all threats, but it's progress nonetheless. But there's more to conservation than laws and organizations. Individual actions matter too. People can install bat houses, providing roosting habitat. They can avoid using pesticides, protecting insect populations that bats depend on. They can support conservation organizations financially. They can spread accurate information about bats, countering myths and fear with facts. They can advocate for bat-friendly policies in their communities. These individual actions, multiplied across thousands or millions of people, create collective impact that complements formal conservation efforts. And this leads to something equally fascinating about the future of bat research and what remains to be discovered. Despite decades of study, fundamental questions about bat biology remain unanswered. How exactly do bats integrate information from multiple senses? What are the limits of their spatial memory? How do they make decisions about when to migrate? What genetic changes underlie their unique physiology, their longevity, their tolerance of viruses, their ability to fly? As technology advances, better tracking devices, more sophisticated acoustic analysis, genetic sequencing, these questions become approachable, and new discoveries continue emerging. Recent discoveries illustrate how much remains unknown. Researchers have only recently documented that some bat species can reach ground speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour in level flight, making them among the fastest mammals. Studies using thermal cameras have revealed complex social networks within roosts, showing that bat relationships are more structured than previously recognized. Genetic research has uncovered that some bat species that appear morphologically identical are actually distinct cryptic species that don't interbreed. Each discovery opens new questions, expands understanding, reminds us how much complexity exists even in well-studied animals. Which brings us to the question of what bats can teach us about living sustainably in a changing world. Bats have persisted through enormous environmental changes over 50 million years. Ice ages, climate shifts, continental drift, the rise and fall of countless other species. Their success comes partly from flexibility, the ability to exploit varied food sources, occupy diverse habitats, adjust behavior in response to conditions. But it also comes from efficiency. Bats are extraordinarily good at what they do, wasting little energy, maximizing returns, living within the limits of their environments. There's a lesson there about adaptation, about resilience, about the relationship between specialization and flexibility. Consider for a moment the parallels between bat conservation and broader environmental challenges. Both require recognizing interconnections,
understanding that protecting one species means protecting the ecosystems it depends on, which means addressing multiple threats simultaneously. Both require balancing human needs with ecological sustainability. Both require long-term commitment, recognizing that conservation is not a one-time fix, but an ongoing process. And both require hope tempered with realism, acknowledging problems honestly while believing solutions are possible. This reveals something profound about the human relationship with nature in the modern era. We have unprecedented power to alter environments, to drive species extinct or to protect them, to destroy habitats or to restore them. This power comes with responsibility, the obligation to make informed decisions, to consider consequences beyond immediate human interests, to act as stewards rather than simply exploiters. Whether we fulfill this responsibility will determine not just the fate of bats, but the fate of countless species, including, ultimately, ourselves. And alongside this ethical dimension, there's a practical one. Human well-being depends on healthy ecosystems. The services bats provide, pest control, pollination, seed dispersal, have economic value measurable in billions of dollars. But beyond economic calculations, there's the less tangible but equally real value of living on a planet rich with biodiversity, where nights still fill with the flight of millions of bats, where forests regenerate through seed dispersal, where complexity and wonder persist. These values resist quantification, but their loss would be profoundly impoverishing. But here's the truth that persists beneath all discussion of conservation and value. Bats exist independently of human judgments. They were here before humans emerged, and barring our interference, they would continue long after humans disappeared. They don't exist for human benefit, don't require human validation. They simply are, living, adapting, continuing lineages stretching back 50 million years. Our recognition of their worth doesn't create it. It merely acknowledges what has always been true. And perhaps that's the most important insight, that all species have intrinsic value, independent of utility, measured not by service to humans, but by the mere fact of existence, by the irreplaceable role each plays in the vast, interconnected web of life. And this connects to something deeper about wonder and the human experience of the natural world. There's a particular quality of awe that comes from understanding, not the shallow amazement of ignorance, but the deep appreciation born of knowledge. To watch bats emerge at dusk, knowing what you now know, the sophistication of their navigation, the precision of their hunting, the complexity of their social lives, the millions of years of evolution encoded in their every adaptation, is to witness something truly remarkable. Knowledge doesn't diminish wonder, it deepens it, transforms simple observation into profound appreciation. The philosopher Heraclitus wrote that nature loves to hide, suggesting that the world's deepest truths are not obvious, but require effort to discover. Bats exemplify this principle. On the surface, they're small, nocturnal animals that most people rarely see, and, when seen, often misunderstand. But beneath that surface lies extraordinary complexity. Biological systems refined across millions of years, behaviors requiring sophisticated cognition, ecological relationships extending in all directions. The more you learn, the more there is to appreciate. Understanding reveals not simplicity, but ever deeper layers of intricacy. Consider for a moment how this applies beyond bats to all of nature. Every species, examined closely, reveals similar depths, adaptations exquisitely fitted to specific circumstances,
behaviors more complex than casual observation suggests, relationships with other species creating networks of interdependence. The natural world is not a backdrop against which human life unfolds, but a community of beings, each with their own ways of living, their own evolutionary histories, their own roles in maintaining the systems that support all life. Recognizing this transforms how we inhabit the world, from seeing ourselves as separate and dominant to understanding ourselves as participants in something vastly larger.
And here's what almost no one talks about: the spiritual dimension of this recognition. Not spiritual in necessarily religious terms, but in the sense of connecting with something beyond the immediate, the personal, the human. To contemplate bats' 50 million-year lineage is to step outside human timescales, to glimpse deep time. To understand echolocation is to recognize that reality can be perceived in ways fundamentally different from human experience. To appreciate ecosystem interdependence is to see yourself as part of larger patterns that would continue with or without you, but that your actions nonetheless affect. This perspective, simultaneously humbling and ennobling, offers a kind of wisdom that purely human-centered worldviews cannot provide. And as you drift now towards sleep, carrying these thoughts like seeds that will germinate in dreams, reflect on how much happens beyond human awareness, beyond human perception, yet no less real for being unseen. Millions of bats are flying through darkness right now, navigating by sound, catching prey with precision humans cannot match, communicating in frequencies humans cannot hear. They are, in every moment, performing small miracles of biology, continuing lineages older than our species, playing roles in ecosystems that support the world we depend on. They ask nothing from us except space to exist, habitats to live in, a world not so degraded that survival becomes impossible. Perhaps that's not so much to ask. Perhaps, in learning about bats, their sophistication, their vulnerability, their importance, we learn something about what it means to share a planet, to recognize value in forms of life different from our own, to take responsibility for consequences that extend beyond immediate human concerns. The choices we make, individually and collectively, will determine whether future generations inherit a world still graced by bat flight, still enriched by their presence, still complex and mysterious and full of wonders that reward attention. So as you rest now, as consciousness fades and sleep approaches, know that you are part of something larger. You share this moment with millions of other species, each living their own lives according to their own natures, each contributing to the great tapestry of existence. The bats flying through night skies, the insects they pursue, the plants they pollinate, the forests they help regenerate. All of it connects. All of it matters. All of it participates in the ongoing story of life on Earth. And you, too, participate. Your presence and choices rippling outward in ways both visible and invisible. Sleep well, knowing that the night is full of life, full of activity invisible to human eyes, but no less real. Dreams may carry you strange places, show you impossible sights, let you experience what waking life cannot. And perhaps, somewhere in those dreams, you might fly. Not with bird wings, but with hand wings, fingers stretched with membrane between them, navigating by sound through darkness, catching echoes that paint pictures in frequencies beyond human hearing, living for a moment as bats live, in a world of acoustic landscapes and aerial grace. Tomorrow will bring its own light,
its own concerns, its own small dramas and decisions. But tonight belongs to the creatures of darkness, to those who've made the night their home, who see the world differently than we do, who remind us that reality is richer, stranger, and more wonderful than any single perspective can encompass. Rest now in that knowledge. Let it comfort you. Let it inspire wonder. Let it inform how you move through the world, how you make choices, how you relate to the countless other beings with whom you share this brief moment in the vast sweep of time. And as the final thoughts dissolve, as sleep finally claims you, remember that you've traveled tonight through 50 million years of evolutionary history, through acoustic landscapes of sound and echo, through ecosystems held together by threads of interdependence, through stories of survival and adaptation, and the endless creativity of life finding ways to persist. You've glimpsed, even briefly, what it might mean to be something other than human, to experience reality through different senses, to live according to different rhythms. And in that glimpsing, perhaps you found something valuable, a perspective broader than the merely human, an appreciation for complexity beyond easy comprehension, a sense of wonder that tomorrow's daylight cannot diminish. Good night. Rest deeply, and may your dreams be filled with flight.